Dr. Shirley Munger was a force of nature in the music department at what was then Westchester State College. And I discovered this force when I transferred there as a sophomore undeclared major. And not realizing how renowned their music department is, I decided I was going to take a couple of electives in the music department because I like music. I have a lot of albums. So I signed up for two courses, both of which were populated entirely with music majors, plus one undeclared major transfer student. The first course was called solfeggio, or solfege, as the students referred to it. And it was a course in ear training to teach pitch and sight reading of music. The second was music theory, where, among other things, you're learning about composition. Both sections that I enrolled in were taught by Dr. Shirley Munger, an amazing woman, an amazing teacher who had this bun on the top of her head with a pencil through it that you would swear if she pulled the pencil out, that hair would fall below her waist. She could be in the middle of a lecture and hear a car horn out the window, stop to tell you what tones were in that horn, and then finish her thought. Now, solfege was a real struggle for me. I was so over my head. We get to the midterm exam where you walk into Dr. Munger's little office, which had a baby grand piano, and she hands you a piece of sheet music with only the notes on it. And she would plunk her finger down to give you your starting note. And then you would sight sing the piece a cappella, in the correct key, in the correct time signature, and singing the names of each note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, etc. Remembering that if, for example, fa is sharp, then you would sing fi. And when you get to the end, she plunks her finger down on where you should have landed, what note you should be on. By that point, I think I was in the key of L. I was so far off, and it was just a disaster. It fell apart like in the first measure. And I was so frustrated and disappointed and embarrassed. But since she had me for two classes, she knew that I was not a music major and thankfully not trying to become one. And I was doing okay in the other course, plodding along in the music theory. But I said, Dr. Munger, I can't do this. I've tried, but I can't. And I'm never going to be able to pass this course. Now, keep in mind, we're at the midterm, well past the time for withdraw or pass-fail. And I will never forget, because I've tried to bring into the classroom with my teaching what she said. She looked at me and said, I knew you weren't going to make it in this course. I just wanted to see how long you'd stick it out. I'll make sure you can withdraw with no penalty. What an amazing thing to allow a student to explore their curiosity and find their own limits. So I still had her for the rest of the semester for music theory, and the final assignment for that course was to create a composition for 4 instruments. And those 4 instruments had to come from instruments played by the other students in the class. And it had to be 16 measures long, and it had to incorporate very specific criteria that had to be part of the composition. And it had to make musical sense, no free-form jazz. Well, the music majors would argue with her that it's impossible to get everything that you want in such a short piece. And Dr. Munger would inform them that she gets this same objection every semester. And then she said something else that has stuck with me through my entire life. You will find, she said, that the more restrictions you have put upon you, the more creative you are forced to become. Think about that. She's absolutely right. Now, one other thing for this final project. On the day of the presentation, you had to stand up there in front of the class and conduct the 4 students playing your piece. I watched some music majors who were maybe overly ambitious with their piece or overly confident or maybe a little both get up there and crash and burn. Now I have to get up after watching some successes and some spectacular failures. I hand out my sheet music and I start conducting. And it surprisingly comes together quite nicely. It's very sing-songy, it's very nursery rhyme-ish, very simple, but it worked. It fit the criteria, it got all of the things in there, and it didn't fall apart. And Dr. Munger smiled and nodded. Well, this simple little piece, which was no better than a base hit for a music major, was a home run for me. Thank you.